So my name is Luke Dash. I'm Chief Executive of ISMS Online, a relatively fast-growing SaaS business within the governance, risk, and compliance space. We've been around about 7-8 years now, but had some exponential growth over the last sort of 2 or 3 years, and are making a real splash within that space. So the situation before we engaged with We Have a Meeting was we had very much 100% inbound inquiries coming through. The business wasn't going as fast as what the investors would have liked it to have been going at that point. And so ultimately, we hadn't had an outbound channel of any sort. We have a load of traffic coming through our website, some good, some bad, some ugly. And at that point, it was, how do we go and look at creating an alternative source of revenue outside of our SEO or PPC channel that, although was productive, wasn't going to get us to where we needed to be. Yeah, the reason why we engaged with We Have a Meeting was there was multiple reasons for that. The founder I'd been exposed to for many years, and I'd known about his sales qualities. I knew a lot about how his approach to sales was super productive. We'd worked together in similar environments. Secondly, when Zach explained the way in which We Have a Meet engage with prospects in order to kind of maximize the efficiency of the relationship with their customer, it was really refreshing because it stood out as really different to other perceived competitors, telemarketing firms, etc. So it was quite an easy decision because it's always a little bit of a risk when you engage a third party to support you with your business development, but that risk was rather mitigated because I'd known Zach in business for almost a decade, and I knew the way at which he approached things, and I knew that that would ripple through We Have a Meeting as well. Yeah, there were a number of things that were really valuable about working with We Have a Meeting. One of the first ones which really stood out was the challenge back to us as a business in and around who it is that we wanted for them to be prospecting for us. And that was really refreshing because quite often you just get the Churchill nodding dog, yes, 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 when you're saying, this is what we want, etc., etc. But actually, there was quite a bit of challenge back to us, and it made us actually think, is that actually the approach that we want to take? So that challenge was refreshing and super valuable as well, because it made us actually think about our strategy in a little bit more detail. One of the things that I found particularly valuable was the constant open communication between We Have a Meet and ourselves. Often I've had these relationships before where you get to one of these review meetings, whether it be a week or after a month, and you spend 90% of it talking about what didn't work over the last month. And one of the really refreshing things and valuable elements of working with those meetings were never about retrospective, because there were no surprises, because we were in constant contact and we were gauging what was happening, what was working, what was not. So when we had those review meetings, it was much more around, well, how are we going to nail the next 30, 60, 90 days, and how are we going to raise the bar and get more success? As always, when I've worked with Zach in the past, he hit the ground running. It didn't surprise me. It surprised my chief marketing officer and that team, because there was very much a feeling that we couldn't outbound because we'd never done it. So, it just doesn't work for our business. We're really different, right? You've heard it all before. But Zach hit the ground running, and that was really refreshing because it gave confidence to the rest of the business. And the quality of leads that came through straight off the bat were super high. I think, thinking back, I think we closed 3 or 4 pieces of business in the first month, purely off the back of meetings generated through We Have a Meet. And obviously, when talking about expanding a relationship and justifying that spend internally, that makes it so much easier when you've got that in the back, that you've already kind of nailed off there. So I think that the speed at which We Have a Meet got up to a level of expectation was awesome. And that kind of just grew and grew and grew, and there was that snowball effect of effectiveness from the team, from the team that We Have a Meet, and the better quality leads, higher volume, etc., as they got to know our sector more and more over the relationship. Not only would I recommend, I have recommended We Have a Meeting to many of our customers and myself, and I think that in a time period where martech and prospecting, etc., is so competitive. It's a really noisy space. You don't need to look for more than a couple of minutes on LinkedIn for your feed to be filled up with people talking about all the different nuances of how they prospect, etc., etc. I think it's really important to be able to separate the good from the bad. And so, wherever possible, I recommend we have a meet to any of my network. We're owned by a private equity firm. Other companies within our private equity firm have successfully used We Have a Meet and have raved about the results. So, yeah, I couldn't speak highly enough about Jack and the team there. They've been great for us, been great for many people within our network, and ultimately, it's enjoyable to see their business go from strength to strength.